Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We are here, match day 20 in the books. And you know what? Aside from my team, things didn't go too bad for us here at the good old show. Anything you want to say before we get into the first match here, Keegan?
No, not a ton. It did seem to be a sort of important match day. A couple of managers potentially being fired. West Ham could have a new guy. Everton could have a new guy. Proved to be a pretty tough match day. Not for us though. Picks wise, we did pretty great. But yeah, I don't know. We were right on a lot. We had hunches on a few. It's a good way to start the year.
Agreed. Certainly coming out of the end of 2024, not great.
What year is it? Who knows?
Now it's 2027, and we're doing great. I mean, we're already 2 years into Trump. We've bought Greenland. Canada's in the works, okay? And we're gonna get suppressed by Google for this political advertisement. So Let's go ahead and get into it before I dig ourselves an even deeper hole. First up is Tottenham Hotspur hosting Newcastle at that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This one, do you think it's Postecoglou's last?
You know, he refuses to change his tactics, and I think that's kind of the issue, right? You see managers like Pep that when they go through a slump, they change their tactics, they work some things around. Postecoglou has been very adamant that he will not change who he is, and I'm not sure it's who Tottenham needs. I mean, you go up real quick, fourth minute, and you give up a goal right after that. And then Tottenham played well, don't get me wrong. It was a hard-fought 2-1 loss, but at home versus a team that's right there with you, it's kind of a match you at least hope that you're getting a draw out of. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be his last, but I think that there's talk now that do we replace him and go with the interim for the rest of the season? He's got to do something or else he knows he's out too.
And it's a pretty detrimental hit for them because it starts putting some distance. We talked just a few weeks ago about how tight it was for places, I think it was 5 through 11 that were all really tight in there, or maybe it was like 5 through 12. But with this loss here at Tottenham and with it going to Newcastle, it's starting to be a little bit of a secondary gap there. I mean, it's now 11 points up to 5th, which is Newcastle for them. And the top of the table is starting to come down a little bit, compressing between City's not out of it is basically the thing. But yeah, 2-1 loss at home against Newcastle, who's been volatile. I mean, there are many fewer goals than we had expected in this one. Not many fewer. I expected one more goal. But still, I don't think it was embarrassing enough for him to get... If they stuck with him for this long, I don't know if this is going to be the nail in the coffin. Who do Spurs have coming up next? Let's see if that one might be. They've got Arsenal. Well, if they get embarrassed against Arsenal, you could see that happening for it being a London derby.
I mean, Newcastle... They're the second hottest team in the Premier League right now.
Right.
Top hottest got to be Nottingham, which we'll talk about later. But Newcastle 5-game win streak, not just unbeaten streak. Arsenal, I think, is also on like a 10-game unbeaten streak too. So those teams at the top, you look at that and you say, all right, maybe they're just in good form. But yeah, if they get embarrassed by Arsenal in match day 21, you got to think that maybe it's time to move on, start from scratch.
Yeah, for Bournemouth, I mean, you're right. Five wins in a row. They were in 12th less than a month ago, and they are now in 5th. I mean, that's that tightness of the table that we were talking about in action right there. But we'll move on from Tottenham and Newcastle on to Aston Villa and Leicester City. First of all, we both got the previous pick correct. We did pick Tottenham to lose. That was correct for both of us. And now we move to another one we both got correct. Which was Aston Villa beating Leicester. You, in fact, got a perfect pick here. We thought it would be nervy for Aston Villa for whatever reason, and Aston Villa played their part. It was a rather dull first half, but the second half made up for it in nerves alone.
Yeah, this one, again, Leicester playing well. They just can't finish anything. The equalizer that they got, you really thought they were going to maybe sneak out of Villa Park with a point, but Aston Villa comes in, Leon Bailey, one of their key mark players, gets the winning goal. I knew it would be close. Aston Villa not known for their scoring prowess, and this year definitely not known for their defensive prowess. But they're usually always low-scoring games. But Aston Villa, it really was just they were the better team. You know, like they were able to outlast the onslaught just a little bit longer than Leicester.
Well, onslaught might be a little bit of a strong word for Leicester. Only 4 shots in total in the whole match. But, yeah, I mean, if you get shot at 4 times with a gun, that would be an onslaught. Like, I'm not arguing with you there.
Hey, 50% were on target, and they made one, so.
That's true. That's true.
For Emiliano Martinez, it probably felt like, boy, this is 4 shots. This is tough.
Yeah. And he still couldn't keep a clean sheet. Emmy, you make us look like fools, Emmy. We'll move on from that one to Bournemouth beating Everton 1-0. You did get this one wrong, but I did get this one right. Not perfect, but I did get it right nonetheless. Not a lot to say about this one. It is a 1-0 victory for Bournemouth. 77th minute goal by David Brooks. Probably just David Brooks. They got the job done at home.
Yeah, this one, Bournemouth, start to finish, looked like the better team. Everton, not even a shot on target, which is probably why you're hearing whispers of the Everton board meeting together, figuring out if Sean Dyche is their guy. It's really hard to assess. You know, we see it in the NFL whenever one coach has a really bad season outside the Patriots, obviously. This isn't an NFL podcast, but in a lot of other sports, you see it takes a few years to get the coach's system in place, to get the right players. I think if Everton stick with Sean Dyche, there's a chance they could be good again. But when you have this revolving door, it's really hard to get some consistency, which I think plays into their kind of relegation battle. Bournemouth, though, start to finish in this one, they finally got that winner in the 77th, but Everton just did not look the part in this one.
No, and you know, they managed to escape relegation last year mainly because the competition was so poor. Even with their, I think it ended up being 9 points deducted overall for being cheaters. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was like 12 originally, then 8 by the end of the season after a couple came back.
Yeah. They've got a game in hand, but they're still only a point above Ipswich Town at this time with a game in hand. And like we've said before, that game in hand is against Liverpool. So basically chalk that one up as a loss. So they're standing pat at most a point. I don't think they're going to beat Liverpool because I think it's at Anfield. I can't remember.
At exactly. Anfield.
Yeah, at Anfield. So unlikely.
But hey, man,
3 out of that.
You catch them in like an off week, there's a chance.
I mean, they have shown themselves to be vulnerable. We'll get to that here in just a minute. First, we'll get to another top of the table team that showed themselves to be vulnerable. Chelsea draws at Crystal Palace 1-1. Neither of us saw this one coming because it was shocking that Crystal Palace was able to withstand Chelsea's formidable attack. With that Jean-Philippe Mateta equalizer there in the 82nd minute for Crystal Palace, and they were able to hold on through the end.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, and I talked about it in the prediction episode, Crystal Palace's defense has been up to stuff, but I thought Chelsea's offense was going to show up, and it did not.
No.
1 shot on target ends up being the only goal. And 15 shots total, 1 on target. I mean, you look at the stats, Crystal Palace looked like they played better offensively and probably should have won the game outside of possession other than Chelsea. So I felt like this was a disappointment for Crystal Palace more so because they looked like the better team, especially in the second half. But like you said, I mean, this kind of shows some vulnerability in a Chelsea team that was kind of on a roll here the last 6 to 7 match weeks.
It's kind of a return to last season in the inverse, where they were showing some immaturity and just not converting on chances that they were given. I mean, 13 shots is a significant amount. You only put one on frame. At some point, that's on you. You gotta put the ball on frame. It's my dad used to tell me when he was our coach, like, typically the team that takes the most shots is going to win the match. Caveat, shots on goal. If you got the most SOGs, then probably you're going to win the match. But they weren't able to convert even that. So, yeah.
You look at their last 4 games. They've only got 2 points out of 12 possible. And Newcastle, City, Bournemouth, Villa right on their tail. So they continue this slide. I mean, they could find themselves in 8th in only a couple of match days.
They certainly could, which I don't like because of my preseason picks. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of what happened, it's Man City back on the horse? Question mark?
Boom. We were on the horse. The horse had just been shot in the leg, but it's been mended. And I think we're coming, not for the title, who knows, but I mean, we look good. We're free flowing. I owe it all to Savinho.
Yeah.
He has just been coming to life. I mean, his ball for the second goal, Holland's first, boy, that was a pinpoint pass out of nothing. Holland heads it in. But it seems like, now obviously once we put Gundogan and Kyle Walker in, West Ham scored. But when those guys were on the bench, we were playing great. It seems like the system didn't necessarily change, but Savio, who had been almost exclusively playing on the right, moved to the left the last 2 games. And for some reason, that's really opened up the space. De Bruyne has kind of been drifting to the right when he had been drifting to the left. So I think there's probably some signings coming in to help out with the youth aspect of City. We're pretty old at this point, but
yeah,
I mean, we played well. West Ham had their chances and they played pretty decently, but I mean, I don't want to get too excited because then I could be disappointed next week. But
yeah,
it was a good game overall. I'll say that. Good game.
It is strange not having consistency from City because for years they've just been, like the best team in soccer, and not being able to rely on them week in and week out is a transition. You've got Brentford here on the other side of this mini break. I mean, we get a break. They don't. They have to go play in the FC, in the FA Cup, not FC Cup, FA Cup. But we'll see. Brentford, not a pushover, but certainly a winnable match. Definitely a winnable match. But speaking of Brentford, and speaking of them not being a pushover, they pushed over Southampton. With vigor and aplomb, with 5 goals getting netted against Southampton. I think we could probably just give up on Southampton at this point. I mean, yeah, I think you could just give up on Southampton. They're getting relegated for sure.
Well, this was Brentford's first away win all season. They were 2 draws, 7 losses, and they go into, I mean, what is it even called?
It is called St.
Mary's
Stadium.
They go into St. Mary's Stadium and just rock. I mean, it wasn't even close.
No.
First half, Southampton kept it decently close, but really that was just because Brentford was still trying to get a feel of the game. But, I mean, that second half, especially, I mean, obviously 62nd minute on, the Bees were buzzing. I predicted it was 4-1. I was right about 5 goals. Did not think Southampton was going to get blanked at home. This is the wake-up game. This is also when we saw Sheffield start to get blown out. 5-0, 6-0, 7-0.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel the same stuff coming from Southampton. They have no leadership. They have no experience. They have a lot of young guys. Yeah, you can rubber stamp my prediction now. Southampton will get relegated, maybe with single-digit points.
Wow, single-digit points.
I just don't see how they can get points against some of these teams that are actually fighting for something when it's looking pretty bleak.
Yeah, I'm going to make a commitment to you all of our viewers here. I won't pick Southampton to win again. I've made the last mistake I'm going to make with them. I'll make plenty of others, but it won't be picking Southampton to win. So we've got two commitments for this season.
This will be the clip that we put out there.
We can't agree on. There we go. Whoa, I've got to fix this real quick. We'll leave it. He gets to see my fan.
Well, what I was going to say is this will be what we clip in like 6 weeks after Southampton's gone 6 wins straight.
Yeah, 6 wins in a row.
And we'll say you're welcome for putting that omen on you.
Yeah, there we go. And we got to speak it into existence. We're manifesting a Southampton run here for whatever reason. I mean, none of us are really tied to Southampton, aside from I think we both picked them to stay up. But only just.
Only just.
And then we move to the Amex with Brighton Hove Albion pulling off a draw against Arsenal. One of these dropping points that we're talking about here, thanks to a 61st minute João Pedro penalty conversion.
Yeah, not without its controversy. The penalty, Arteta called it the craziest thing he's ever seen. Obviously, he's an emotional fella. I don't know. Apparently, João Pedro has been on the wrong end of controversy pretty much every week for the last 5 weeks. But hey, Brighton do not care. They drew. And yeah, Arsenal dropping points. It's looking like they're second, but tied with Nottingham, who's on their 6-game win streak. I don't know. Arsenal have some key injuries. Sterling is still out. Mm-hmm. The guy who scored, Wanari, I don't know, actually, I know how to say his name, but he's out now for several weeks when they were just excited about him coming in. He's gotten 2 goals, I think, in the last 2 games. So Arsenal seem to be kind of, I think they're Liverpool-esque from a couple of years ago where like they're good enough to win it, but the injuries are just starting to pile up. Can you make it to the end of the season with a fully healthy squad? That'll kind of be the thing that determines their place, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we said, they have Tottenham on the other side of this, so both those teams are certainly looking for a change in direction in that one, so it'll be an interesting London derby. Then to Sunday with a saved point, like truly a saved point by Fulham against Ipswich Town at Craven Cottage. 90 plus 1 Raul Jimenez penalty. And Fulham, both of Fulham's goals were penalties in this one. Ipswich was the only one that scored from the run of play. So, maybe the Tractor Boys, they're only a point out of safety. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think they deserve to win it. I mean, they played well enough to win it. Fulham remains unbeaten in their last 8 Premier League matches, 6 of those being draws, but they'll take it. It still
counts.
Yeah, still counts. Fulham and Brighton have dropped. Fulham have dropped more points from a leading position than Ipswich.
Really?
Fulham have dropped 19 points from a winning position. Ipswich have dropped 17. Brighton is right there in the middle at 18. So both these teams, a 2-2 draw kind of makes sense. Neither team wants to win, actually, based on the stats. But, boy, Ipswich, I mean, again, season-defining win away from home against a team that has every bit of top 10 play in them. You got to win these. These are the ones that you look back and match day 38 and you say, I wish we would have had that one back.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you've got a chance that Europe is within your grasp if you just convert on things that you should be doing. Speaking of converting on things you should be doing, hey, my draw pick here for Liverpool and Manchester United came through. Wasn't 1-1, but I'll take 2-2.
It was almost 3-2 if Harry Maguire could keep his chest down when he shoots it in the 97th minute. Wow. But, hey, Man U looked like a team in this one. They actually came with a plan. They looked pretty organized. Big second half, though. If you're going to watch the highlights, just skip to the second half. First half, couple of chances, not anything great. Salah scoring on a penalty again. I don't know. If Man U could play like this, obviously they'll do fine. They'll stay up. But Liverpool, I mean, again, like I told you, they drop 2 to 3 points per month. Every few weeks they drop a draw. They may be 6 points up with a game in hand, but you start dropping these draws in there, maybe lose one. These teams are right behind them, are ready to pounce, playing good football. Liverpool's got to be careful because, like we said, the talk around the club, you got some of their top guys saying they're ready to leave, and it's halfway through the season. So I don't know what that could spell.
But not for nothing, they do have Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, on the other side of this FA Cup break at Nottingham Forest. So I'm not saying this isn't a prediction episode, and I probably won't.
But Nottingham does own their only loss all season.
That's true, and they're on a winning streak because they did dispatch my Wolves, only 3-0, almost got to the 4-0, but wasn't quite there. It was clean, clinical. I mean, they deserved the win through and through. Scored in the 7th minute. They spaced them out pretty evenly across the whole match, and my Wolves never really looked like they were there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time Forest have won 6 games in a row in a top flight since September of 1979. So it's been a long time since Nottingham fans, almost 2 generations of fans haven't seen something like this. So, another stat right here. They've kept 9 clean sheets in the Premier League this season, more than any other side.
Wow.
And 4 straight clean sheets.
Who had Matt's cells for their Golden Glove?
Well, might I add, this season is looking eerily similar to Leicester's title-winning season.
Yes, you said that. Yeah.
All the way until about match day 25-26, Leicester was kind of creeping slowly up. They were like fourth,
around,
third, second. Then they went on like a 15-game unbeaten streak, winning like 9 of those. Then they I'm just saying, if Liverpool start to drop, Nottingham is having a Leicester-style season. And it could be an incredible, obviously if City aren't going to win it, I'd rather it be Nottingham. But yeah, I'm just saying, if they can beat Liverpool on the other side of break, you heard it here first, they're going to win the title.
Wow.
That momentum will carry them towards.
Clip that.
Flip it. Matchday 21 coming up. They're just having an amazing season. Their team is in full force. Chris Wood may win the Golden Boot.
Okay, let's not get too crazy.
I mean, he's right there. He's killing. I think he's already broken the Nottingham Forest Premier League top scorer already. And he's been on their team a year and a half. But Nottingham having a great season. Wolves, after that first goal went in, you kind of felt like, let's just ship off till the next weekend. But
we put up some fight, but still, it wasn't great. No. I don't know, he's down at 12. Mo Salah's at 18. Erling Haaland at 16. If Nottingham Forest is going to pull that off, then he probably does need to be higher up in the list because he's basically all they have. Oh, Mateus Cunha is at 10. That's nice.
Wolves missed him in this game.
Yeah.
Very, very obvious.
Yes, it's hard when you don't have anybody threatening with any sort of seriousness. Like I said, we had plenty of chances. We just never felt like we were going to convert, in my opinion. That brings us to the end of match day 20 with, it wasn't a lot of movement per se, but there was a lot of point shuffling around. Some gaps getting closed, just things getting tighter in different places. So we will see how this all shakes out in our prediction episode coming out late next week. We'll be back for the Matchday 21 predictions. Is that starting on Wednesday? When's the next match?
Tuesday the 14th, Matchday 21.
I guess it will technically be Matchday 14. Yeah, so next week, a week from today. We'll probably put it out on Monday. With our predictions for Matchday 20 And then we're in the thick of it for a little while there until the break in February. Got some matches stacked up. Jiminy Christmas! Look at all those matches. Yeah, up until February 3rd, it's busy. It's busy, and we'll be through it all with you all. And until we get to there, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. Gula gula.